Hello, this is JB. Today I'm going to talk about my brain surgery experience. So I talked about in a previous video how one day, August 3rd of 2024, had a great day and it ended with a health incident. I had a seizure. Went to the hospital. They got me stabilized and they ran some tests and found out that I had a mass, which the next day, the 5th, they called a brain tumor. They said it was a brain tumor. And it was, later I learned, can't even say it, meningioma. And it was a grade 2, what they say is atypical. And not cancerous, but not good for you either. And so the doctor, as I said in the previous video, he said that they have to take it out or that I was going to die. So they set up a surgery for a couple of days later. It was a Wednesday, so it was the 7th, at a different hospital. Initially, I was at Bellin Hospital, but they released me on the 5th, and then I had the 6th to kind of get my shit together and make some calls and do some things for the last time, possibly. And then on the 7th, I went in for the surgery. And so I took an Uber to the hospital. It was Aurora Daycare in Green Bay. And I went there and got signed in, and they got me ready for the surgery. And at the end of that time in the hospital room, they put some, how do you call this, anesthetics in me. And I didn't feel anything. But at some point, I just fell asleep. And it must have been like a light because I don't remember getting tired and then falling asleep. I just gone. And it was a long surgery. I can't remember exactly how long it was, but the whole afternoon. I went in at 1:50 in the or no 1:10, and I woke up sometime around 7. So I'm guessing that maybe I got out around 5. I don't know. I could find out, but I don't know. But it was a long surgery, and the surgeon said that it took a long time because he had to be very careful because obviously it's my brain. It was a large tumor, size of a tangerine, and he had to make sure to remove it from my brain without injuring my brain, because if he injures my brain, that could cause me to lose my physical or cognitive abilities or my life. So he had to be very careful. And I'm grateful for him. His name is Dr. Kenneth Reichert. Very smart man. Obviously, you have to be pretty smart to be a brain surgeon. And obviously very skilled because he was able to remove it without harming me at all. But I had a whole bunch of stitches and staples in my head when I got out. The first night I had a great big bandage. But I guess it went very well. I wish they would have kept the tumor so I could like put it in a jar and one day put it on my desk and tell people the story. But hey, look, that thing used to be in my head. Now it's on my desk. But they didn't keep it, I don't guess. And if they did, they probably sent it to UCLA or Harvard or some other place to have it used for testing. I don't know what they did with it. Or they just threw it in the trash. But when I woke up, I was in a hospital room, the 3rd floor of Aurora Hospital, and it was dark, and I heard someone's voice, and I knew the person, and I knew the voice, and my eyes were closed, but I opened them enough to where I could see the person. When I saw him, I recognized him as Will Harris, somebody I had known since 2006 when I lived in Arizona. And he lived there, and he was a master's degree student at that time, and I lived there. I was a community college student at that time, and we were friends because he was friends with my roommates. And we had gone different ways. He moved to Argentina, I think, for a while with his now wife, and then he came back and moved to Wisconsin, and he was working for this organization that does microlending, and we remained friends and we kept in contact. And a few years ago, I went and saw him in the Madison, Wisconsin area, and we're still really good friends. And he helped me with some stuff, and I supported him in some stuff he did. But when I saw him and I recognized him, he's a hugger. I'm not. But I went to hug him, and he stopped me because I was hooked into a whole lot of things that he didn't want me to get hurt. So he stopped me. But I shook his hand, and I squeezed his hand, and I recognized him. I knew his name, and I was able to squeeze his hand, so I knew I was going to be all right. And I felt really good. I talked with him. I was able to talk. It was just a couple hours after a major surgery, because they had to remove a large part of my skull to get inside to where the tumor was and remove it from where the brain had wrapped around it. And but I was able to talk and tell stories like I do, and ask him about this person, that person, how the things are going. He took a picture of me and posted it for me, and I gave a thumbs up even though I just got out of surgery, and my eyes weren't even very much open yet. I had my eyes closed, but I gave it a thumbs up. I had this great big heavy bandage wrapped around my head. It didn't look good, but I was alive, and so that was really good. And I think I slept a good bit that night. And then the next day, my boss, who's an attorney in Green Bay, I'm a paralegal, he came, and his wife came, who's also an attorney. They are co-directors of the same firm. And they both came, and I talked to them, and we were having a nice conversation, but then there started to be some confusion, and I kept saying the same thing over and over. I was talking about something being disorganized, and apparently I had another seizure, and I don't know for sure, but as I remember it, this happened at the same time that the nurse or whoever, CNA, I think probably nurse, removed the catheter from me. A catheter is this medical device that's used to transport urine from your tool, how do you call this thing? Anyway, from the inside of you to a bag. That she pulled the catheter out, and I was supposed to be self-regulating, so holding my urine in, but I could not do that. And like the whole place got wet. It was a big mess. It was piss everywhere, and it was nasty. But everybody was a good sport, and it was not good. But they got it cleaned up, and this guy told me later, he's a nurse practitioner, I think, a white male guy, but he's probably when he was in high school or college, he was a linebacker. He was I don't know, like 6 foot, 200 something. And he said that he had to pick me up from the chair after they cleaned me off and put me in the bed. He said, "How do you think you got to the bed? I'm the one that picked you up and carried you." So he brought me back to the bed, and that was the only difficult. Well, not the only, but the most major difficulty I had after the surgery, because after that second day, I was getting up to use the bathroom because I didn't like to use the they called it a urinal. I call it a plastic jug that you piss in, but they call it a urinal, and and I didn't like using that thing because I don't know, just used to using the toilet. So I was getting up, going to the toilet, they have to watch you, but getting up, going to the toilet, using the bathroom, and pretty soon after that, on the third day and the fourth day, I was walking. Like I was asking very frequently the nurses and CNAs or nurse practitioners and whoever if I could go on a walk, and they claimed that I walked 7 miles in 2 days within the hospital. I don't think that's true. I think it was probably closer to a mile, but I was walking a lot. I was doing a lot of laps because I was ready to move, and I've always been like that. And one of the ladies, she said, "Hey, you've already walked miles and miles. Uh, you should just take a rest." And I said, "I don't want to rest. I want to walk. I want to move around. I'm ready to go." And she said, "You seem like a hard man to keep down." And I didn't say it because it was only me and her in the room, but I thought about saying that's what she said, but I didn't say it. But like I was just ready to go, and I spent a lot of time on the phone talking to people because I just wanted to talk to people. Like I'm not real good in hospitals because you just sit there and you can watch TV, but I don't like to watch TV. That's not my game. Uh, I did watch some Olympics because the Olympics were on at that time, and I watched some politics, but mostly uh, I used my computer a little bit the third day, and then fourth day, all day I used my computer. But I was making a lot of phone calls, calling anybody that would pick up. A lot of family, a lot of friends. I talked to all kind of friends. Talked to a former professional baseball player. I talked to a nuclear engineer. I talked to folks that just do regular jobs. Talked to my friend who's a therapist. I talked to a lot of different people I hadn't talked to in years. All kind of family members and close friends and people who are friends, but they're basically family. All these people, and so that was good for me because I was getting the brain going. I was able to recall things, tell stories, make jokes, um, remember things, uh, just laugh and feel good. So that was really good. And then I think it was at the end of the fourth day, may have been on the fifth day, but I don't really remember right now. But very soon after the surgery, they let me go home. And initially, they had said that I could be in inpatient therapy for like weeks or months because it was a very serious surgery. But luckily for me, like I said before, the doctor was uh, very careful, and it didn't cause any damage, and I was okay. So like they called in like speech therapists and a physical therapist and these different specialists, and they came and worked with me and asked me could I take my finger and put it on my nose and these things, and could I lift my leg, and could I whatever, like all kind of different things they asked you to do, and I could do it. And then we went to the stairwell, and they asked me to walk up and down the stairs, and see if I could stand on one foot, and all this, and and I was good physically, very good, considering what happened. And they went from being extremely worried about me falling to where like if I farted, an alarm went off because they were afraid I was going to fall down, to basically taking everything off of me and letting me walk around in circles in my hospital room. And then like the speech therapist, uh, and I don't know if she's like cognitive therapist or what, but they did all these tests where they tell you like three random words, and then like 10 minutes later they ask you what the words were. I remembered the words, and they ask you to do all these tests. And the first time that I took the test, I did above average, better than most people did, and because they weren't that hard. It was just like I can't remember exactly, like some math problems, some questions, different questions and stuff, and they just try to make sure that your brain is working like it's supposed to, like it would for a normal person. So I did above average, which is where I'm at anyway. And then the next time I took the test, I think it was the fourth day, I did perfect. I did it really quick, and she was surprised at how quick I could do it. And so I knew everything's good, like it was supposed to be. Because my fear was that like it wasn't going to work out like that, and I was going to be like in a chair the rest of my life, and somebody was going to have to take care of me and feed me applesauce, and um, you know, like I was just going to be like just stuck and pitiful, you know, old man who was just waiting to die. That was my fear, and because I'd never been like that. And I'm climbing mountains, I'm running races. When I was a lot younger, when I was a teenager, I was fighting. You know, I was doing all this stuff. You know, drinking when I was a lot younger too, drinking large amounts of alcohol, more than anybody ever should. And I was always physically tough, and I was afraid that I wasn't going to be able to be like that. And I was okay, and it all worked out. And so uh, they released me. I think the fifth day, like I said, fourth or fifth day. And my boss, again, the attorney, he came and he picked me up. He took me home. Um, they didn't want me to go home by myself at first, but eventually they relented and allowed me to go home because I don't have family here. But they let me go home, and I was concerned about like accidentally bumping my head, and like because my head was still in pieces. It was like stapled and stitched together, but it was in pieces. And I was worried about accidentally bumping into things because I do that sometimes, like bumping into something while I'm trying to cook or trying to do something, and like hurting myself really bad, causing a big problem. And I asked them, I said, "Can I have like a helmet? Like the little kids do that have I don't know what you call it, like soft cranium, like some sort of skull softness or something." I asked them, "Could I have a helmet like that?" They said, "You don't need it." I said, "Well, even if I don't need it, it'll just make me feel better, make me feel more confident and less afraid that I'm going to hurt myself." And they said, "You don't need it." And it could be a problem because like stuff could grow in there like bacteria, and then we could have bigger problems. So we're not going to give you that. You just need to be careful and watch out. So I did, and they gave me all the medicine that I was going to need, and told me how to take it and everything. They gave me all the instructions to make sure I could be safe, and I told family members so they could help me too, remind me, even though they're not here, they could remind me. And, somebody else would know like what I needed, so I would be all right. And so I was good. And just a couple of days after I got home, I came to my office, and my boss, he has a alarm system, and I knew about the alarm system. I've used it many times, but sometimes I forget, and I forgot, and I uh, entered the office, and I went and sat down and started doing stuff, checking emails, doing little, not hard things, just little things, just doing something. I just wanted to do something, and then after a while, I got calls. It was like late at night, like 11 something, and I got calls, and I picked up the phone, and it was the security company, and they asked me what the code was, and I don't know the his secret code. I know the code for this thing, but not his secret code because only he knows that, and so I couldn't tell them what it was, and they said, "But it's your house, so you should know." I said, "Well, it's not actually my house," and but the police came, and so I had to explain to these people that I was not a burglar, or I was not in a property that I was not supposed to be at. I actually work here, and they're like, "Well, it's kind of strange for somebody to be at a law office at 11:30 or 12, whatever time it was, 12:30, I don't know, at night." And I said, "Yeah, but I have access here, and so I can come whenever I want. And my boss knows, and he's fine. He doesn't care." Um, and I think I showed them my card, or I showed them something that helped convince them that I was allowed to be here. And they said, "Are you going to be okay? Is there something else we can do for you?" And I said, "Well, I'm just a little confused." And I wasn't really bad confused, but I was just like trying to get used to everything again. And I had a lot on my mind because I just had brain surgery and I almost died. Now I got all these medical bills and all this stuff. And so there was just a lot going on, and it was hard to pay attention to what I'm supposed to do, make sure I was doing the right thing. But I was fine. And then later on that night, I kept getting more worried, and eventually I called the ambulance, and they came, they checked me out, and pretty much like they had said several days before when I had the initial incident, they said, we're going to check your vitals, and they checked them, and they said, oh, you're fine. We can take you to the hospital, but you seem fine. And I said, well, I don't want to go to the hospital because it's going to cost even more money, and I already racked up who knows how many hundreds of thousands of dollars, and didn't have to pay all of it, but hundreds of thousands of dollars. And they said, okay. They said, I think what you really need is just to go in there and go to sleep. And that was true. So I took a Tylenol PM and I went in there and went to sleep, and I was fine. But my recovery, other than that, and other than that seizure that I mentioned earlier, has been really good. You know, like I think a week or two after the thing, I went back to painting class. I had been painting a lot before this whole thing happened, and then I went back to painting class and I painted, and I was fine. I went back to the Lambeau Field where the Packers play, and I went to a preseason game. Walked up and down the stairs. I was fine. It wasn't that hot, but it was still pretty hot. And so, you know, I made it through there. I had my sweatband because they told me to wrap an ace bandage around my head, and I said, hell no, I'm not doing that. It's going to look like I'm injured. And I was injured, but I didn't want to look like a cripple. It's not supposed to say that anymore. Like, I didn't want to look like someone who was disabled or someone who needed help. So instead, I went to the Hibbett Sports, or the whatever you call the sports place, and I bought an Air Jordan sweatband and Nike sweatband, and I wore that to help keep my brain together, to keep everything together like it was supposed to be, instead of moving around, because I had a lot of fluid and it was all kind of moving around. You could hear it making noises and like expanding and doing all this. But that helped to keep it in place like it was supposed to be, and it was fine. And then after a few weeks, they took the staples out, and eventually the stitches went away. I guess they just disappear like with the water in the shower and all that. And then I went from having this big nasty scar to now, my head is shaved, but you still can't really see it unless you look closely. I guess you can see that crease a little bit, but it was all the way back through here like this, because they took off that part of my skull, and they went in there, dug the thing out, and then put it back on, put some tape on it, and that's it. Yeah, so I know, and people have told me that my recovery has been remarkable, because some people that have the same surgery that I have, they don't live, they die, or they have physical or cognitive disabilities for some time or forever. And I didn't really have that experience. I bounced back quick, and I didn't know that was going to happen. I hoped it would, but I didn't know that, and it did. And I'm glad, because I had been working for my whole life. I'm 39, but I always wanted to be somebody. And I worked in meat packing plants and seafood processing plants and other factories, and just doing this very difficult, physically demanding, dangerous work that it's not fun. It's very repetitive, and it's not where I felt like I could do the most good. And so, nights and weekends, I wrote for newspaper. I took all kind of classes. I read a lot. I advocated for workers in many different ways, by teaching them about their rights and helping empower them so they can improve their own lot in life, and speaking for workers, and appearing in all sorts of political ads, and giving interviews to newspapers and all these different people, and I had always wanted to be a newspaper reporter. I became that. I wanted to do something with history. I did that. I wanted to be in the news as a reporter, like be on TV and radio, and I didn't quite do that, but I was an interview subject. So I was interviewed by people, and I was on TV and radio and all over the internet and everything, and I met a lot of those goals. But another thing that I wanted to be in politics, and I was definitely in that. But another thing that I wanted to do is to be involved with the law, not as a criminal, but as an either a paralegal, and I was a paralegal at that time before I got sick or before I had the issue, and then eventually my goal was to be a lawyer. And on the day that I had brain surgery, I was scheduled to take the LSAT, which is the law school admissions test. You have to take this test if you want to go to law school. You almost always have to. There are some exceptions, but you usually have to take it. It's a really important factor in whether or not you get in, how you score. And so when I had the medical incident and then I had the surgery, I was scared that my dream was over and it wasn't going to happen. And I couldn't take the test that day. I was scheduled for 150, but I couldn't because the brain surgery started at 110. And so you cannot take that test when you're under anesthesia, when you're under the knife. And so I couldn't take it, but I was able to take it later on. And I didn't do as well as I thought I would, but I took the test only 28 days after the surgery. And a lot of people I know who are lawyers, they said, Jared, that's a tough test, don't do it. It's too much pressure, it's too much stress, don't do it. And I said, I'm going to do it because this is my dream. This is what I'm going to do. And I took the test. And I answered all the questions with time left over. Not an easy test because it's a marathon. It's like 3 hours, not straight, but like 3 hours of pretty intense reading and responding and thinking and responding. And so it was a tough test, and I wasn't sure how I did, but I ended up doing okay. And I'll talk about this in another video. But I ended up doing okay, and so the dream is definitely still alive, and I'll talk about that in another video too. But so this was my brain story. Oh, this is my brain surgery experience. I hope that anyone who has a health condition, including a brain tumor or cancer or anything like that, I hope that even though it's scary and it can be difficult and you're going to have setbacks maybe, that eventually you overcome it the same way that I did. And I know that's not going to be the case for everybody, and I'm sorry for that. Like, you know, I want everybody to have good health and to have a good life so they can do the things that they want to do with the people they want to do it with and just get the most out of life, because we live in a world where there's all kind of opportunity, and when you get sick, a lot of that opportunity is no longer available. If you get sick, or obviously if you die, it's gone. And so I don't want that for anybody. And one thing I should add is that, you know, right after the surgery, I got right back into politics, and I made a video about having access to health, how having access to health care through the Affordable Care Act helped save my life because it got me the treatment that I needed. And then I also wrote an article, and that was important to me to be able to write it, to tell my story. I wrote an article, and it was published several different places, and so I knew I still had it, because like that's what I was good at before, and That's what I'm still good at. I can still do it. But I hope, getting back to what I was saying, I hope that if you go through something, that you get through it like I did, and I hope that you have people there, um, whatever medical facility you go to, like the ones that I had, who knew what help I needed. They got me the help, supportive, caring, understanding, patient. Because when I'm a patient, sometimes I'm not patient. Uh, but they were great to me, and they saved my life. And I hope that everybody, and I know it's not going to be possible, but I hope everybody gets the kind of care that I got, um, because it gave me my life back, and it's going to allow me to keep going after my dreams and to do as much good as I could possibly do in this world while I'm here. So, shit, I made it quite a long time without crying, and I'm about to cry. But thank you for listening to my brain tumor, brain surgery experience. Have a good day. Bye.